I want you to picture something. You're walking through town on a busy afternoon, and maybe you're coming from the market or heading to catch a matatu, and then you see it. You see a tent, you see a table, a machine that looks surprisingly professional, and a sign that reads full body health scan in 2 minutes. It's bold in red color, displayed up in a place that is very visible. So you stop, you're curious, maybe a little worried about your health because, of course, honestly, everybody is worried about their health. And the person at the table smiles at you. They look confident. They are wearing something that looks like a uniform or a lab coat. And they ask you to place your hand or hold a small device and wait. And 2 minutes later, they hand you a printed report. And on that report, your liver is weak, your stomach has ulcers, your blood sugar is elevated, your hormones, they're out of balance. And your kidneys, they need attention, and you're deficient in multiple vitamins. And just like that, before you have even fully processed what you're reading, they start selling you treatment, and they suggest to you supplements to take, detox packages that to take, herbal remedies, and all of these are conveniently available right there at the table. Now, I want to ask you one question. If hospitals require blood tests, urine tests, ultrasound scans, specialist consultations, and sometimes weeks of investigation to diagnose what is wrong with your body, how is a machine diagnosing your entire body, that is the liver, kidney, hormones, blood sugar, and more, through your palm, the palm of your hand, in 2 minutes? Now, today we are going to answer that question completely, and I'm going to show you exactly what these machines are, what the science actually says, why they feel so convincing, and what the real danger is, because it is not what most people think. Okay, I have to say this before we start. I checked my analytics, and 98% of you have been watching without subscribing. And of course, you know who you are. I would like to request that you hit that subscribe button right now and tap the bell and drop a comment telling me what health topic you want me to cover next. And I promise you that I read every single one of them. If you're done, that is perfect. Just to remind you, I'm Libeya and I'm your pharmacist. And this is a topic I feel very strongly about because these machines are everywhere in our cities right now. Talk about Nairobi, Mombasa, the markets, the streets, the health expos, and the people operating them are convincing, they're polished, and they're very good at what they do. But what they're doing is not medicine. What they're doing is not medicine. And let's get into it so that you get to understand it better. So first, what exactly are these devices? Most of them, they fall under a category called bioresonance or quantum analysis machines. And some are also marketed as quantum magnetic resonance analyzers or full body energy scanners. Now, the names sound impressively scientific, and that is very much intentional. And the basic claim behind bioresonance is this: that unhealthy cells or organs, they emit altered electromagnetic waves due to DNA damage. Now, the theory says that detecting these waves can be used to diagnose diseases, and that changing these waves back to their normal frequency can treat diseases. So you place your hand on a sensor or hold a device or have electrodes placed on your skin, and the machine supposedly reads the electromagnetic signals coming from your body and tells you which organs are healthy and which ones are not. Now, it sounds plausible on the surface. After all, your body does produce electrical signals, and your heart produces them. Your brain produces them. We measure them all the time in hospitals using ECGs and, of course, EEGs. So why is this different? I'll tell you exactly why. Now, here is where we need to think carefully. Yes, your body produces electrical and electromagnetic signals, but, and this is very critical, those signals, they are not organ specific. They are highly complex and cannot be read through a PAL sensor in 2 minutes. Let me give you a comparison. An ECG, for example, the machine we use to read your heart's electrical activity, it requires specific electrodes placed at precise locations on your chest, arms, and legs. It measures one organ. It has been validated through decades of clinical research, and it still requires a trained cardiologist to interpret results accurately. An MRI scanner is one of the most powerful diagnostic tools in medicine, and it requires a machine the size of a room, powerful magnetic fields, and specialized software. And it takes 30 to 60 minutes and is still only images one area of the body at a time. A liver function test, or what we call LFT, it requires a blood sample that goes to a certified laboratory where specific enzymes and proteins are measured against validated reference ranges. Now, these roadside machines, they claim to diagnose all of your organs simultaneously, and that is through your palm in under 2 minutes. There is no known biological pathway through which your palm can transmit full organ data. Palm scanners in real validated technology are used for identification and not diagnosis. Now, the words quantum and energy frequencies, they sound scientific, but in this context, they are being used to dress up claims that have no foundation in how the human body actually works. Now, the Advertising Standards Authority in United Kingdom, which regulates advertising, found that none of the efficacy claims for bioresonance therapy had been supported by evidence. Now, the Federal Trade Commission in the United States has successfully sued at least one person for making unsubstantiated and potentially harmful claims that bioresonance can cure cancer. And globally, most healthcare professionals, they agree that bioresonance cannot diagnose or treat medical conditions or illnesses. Now, this is not a debate happening in a small corner of medicine. It is not. This is the mainstream scientific and medical consensus that is happening. Now, let me ground us in something real for a moment, because I think it is important to understand just how rigorous proper medical diagnosis actually is, so you can appreciate why these shortcuts are so dangerous. Let us take some common conditions. For example, diabetes. Now, to diagnose diabetes, we measure your blood glucose, either fasting, random, or through an HbA1c test that reflects your average blood sugar over 3 months. We need a blood sample. We need a certified lab. The results are compared against internationally validated reference ranges. And even then, we often repeat the test before confirming a diagnosis. Talk about the liver disease, the second type of disease. We measure specific enzymes in your blood. We measure ALT, we measure AST, we measure GGT, we measure ALP. We look at bilirubin levels. We may order an ultrasound to assess the physical structure of the liver. A diagnosis of liver disease requires multiple pieces of evidence across different test types. Talk about the kidney problem. Now, in the kidney problem, we measure creatinine and urea in the blood. We may do a urine analysis. We look at what we call EGFR, which is estimated glomerular filtration rate, which tells us how well the kidneys are filtering. Now, this requires blood work, laboratory analysis, and clinical interpretation. When you're talking about hormonal imbalance, in hormonal imbalance, we measure specific hormones. Talk about the thyroid hormones, talk about the cortisol, estrogen, testosterone, and we do this through blood tests that need to be processed in a laboratory and compared against age and sex specific reference ranges. Now, every single one of these diagnoses requires validated, reproducible, and regulated testing. You cannot compress all of that into a palm or one palm scan. Now, medicine does not work like shortcuts or does not like shortcuts, and any device that claims otherwise is not offering you medicine. It is offering you the appearance of medicine. Now, here is something I want to address honestly, because these machines are genuinely convincing and the people operating them are often very persuasive. So why do people believe them? Why do people believe them? Now, reason number one is that the reports look professional. The reports that these machines generate, they look professional. Now, these machines, they generate long, detailed, printed reports, sometimes 30, 50, or even 100 pages. Now, they use medical terminologies. They have diagrams of organs, They have color-coded charts. Everything about the visual presentation says this is legitimate. But a document looking professional does not make the data in it accurate. That has to be very clear. Reason number two, they tell you something is wrong. They tell you something is wrong. And here is the psychological trick that makes this so effective. Almost every single person who uses these machines is told they have multiple problems. They're told they have low vitamin levels, they're told they have weak liver, they have digestive issues, they have hormonal imbalance. And why is this the case? Because these are the most common complaints in the general population. So they tell you what most likely you could be having. Now think about it. You have a stomach issue, which is extremely common among many people. Almost everyone has experienced digestive discomfort at some point in their life. So you're stressed. In 2025, almost everybody is stressed in one way or the other. Or you are deficient in vitamins. They can tell you you're deficient in vitamins. And of course, most people have some nutritional gaps. Or your liver needs support. This is vague enough to apply to almost anyone. Now, these are what we call Barnum statements. By Barnum, I mean Barnum, Barnum statements. And these are statements so broadly applicable that almost anyone will feel they are personally accurate. It is the same psychology behind horoscopes, if you know it. They feel personal, but they are designed to apply to everyone. Now, reason number three, the fear factor. That is reason number three, the fear factor. Now, when someone in a uniform or in a lab coat or in a dust coat tells you that your liver is weak or your kidneys are under stress, your brain responds emotionally and not analytically. So fear activates, and when we are afraid, we become much more likely to take action, even if that action is buying unproven supplements from a stranger's table. Now, this is not accident. It is very deliberate sales strategy that these people deploy. Now, I want to speak directly to our context here in Kenya specifically, and perhaps by extension across Africa. Now, these medicines, they are multiplying. They're multiplying. You see them in markets, at health expos, sometimes even in spaces that look like legitimate clinics. They are moving indoors. They are getting more sophisticated. And the operators, they're becoming more polished at what they do. They're becoming more polished, more convincing at what they do. And our population is particularly vulnerable to them for a specific reason. Now, access to proper healthcare in Kenya and across much of Africa is genuinely difficult for many people, and hospital visits are quite expensive. Of course, you talk about the waiting times that are long. Getting to see a specialist can take weeks or even months. And laboratory tests, they cost money that not everyone has. So when someone offers you a comprehensive health check in 2 minutes at a low price, conveniently located on the street, then the appeal is completely understandable. And I'm not saying the people who fall for these machines are gullible. I'm saying they are human beings living in a healthcare system that has real gaps in them. And these operators are exploiting those gaps. They're exploiting those gaps. Of course, there is also the issue of medical self-treatment culture. And many Kenyans are used to buying medication from the chemist without a prescription, managing symptoms at home, and avoiding hospitals until something becomes very serious. Now, these machines, they plug directly into that culture. They feel like accessible healthcare, but they are not healthcare at all, as I mentioned before. They are a product discussed as healthcare. Now, I need to tell you about the danger that most people overlook, because it is not the machine itself. The machine is not going to hurt you physically. It is essentially a metal sensor, or a pad, if you may. It does not emit radiation. It does not inject anything into your body. The danger is what happens after. The danger is what happens after you've used the machine or the machine has been used on you. The biggest risk is that using bioresonance could stop people from receiving other evidence-based treatments. So if bioresonance doesn't work, this could have negative effect on the health outcomes of individuals. Let me paint you two scenarios that perhaps you may relate with. In scenario one is where the machine tells you that you are sick, your liver is failing, your kidneys are weak, your blood sugar is dangerously high, and you get terrified. You spend money on supplements that they sell you, and you worry constantly. You tell your family about your situation, your quality of life deteriorates because of fear. But when you eventually go to a real hospital and do proper tests, you're completely healthy. And you might have spent money, time, and emotional energy on a problem that did not really exist. And then we have scenario two, where the machine tells you that you're fine. Everything looks normal, no issues detected. So you feel relieved. You had been a bit concerned about your health lately. You're talking about some fatigue, some discomfort, but now you feel validated. There is no need to go to the hospital, but you actually have early stage hypertension or a liver problem that is still in a treatable phase, or a prediabetes that could have been reversed with early intervention. But because you are falsely reassured, you delay proper diagnosis by months and sometimes even years. Some people go over years before they have proper diagnosis. And by the time you do go to a real doctor or a real hospital, the window for early intervention has closed. This is the scenario that keeps me up at night as a medical professional, because missed early disease is not an inconvenience. In many cases, it is the difference between cure and no cure. That is missed early disease intervention. And let me be very clear about where mainstream medicine stands on this particular matter. And this is not a matter of ongoing scientific debate. The position is very clear that bioresonance is not recognized as a validated diagnostic tool in evidence-based medicine. That is very, very clear. It has not passed the clinical trials that are required for medical devices to be approved by regulatory bodies in Kenya, the United States, the European Union, or the United Kingdom. Now, medical scientists, they have classified these devices as instruments of charlatans. Unfortunately, making success of themselves today, or they're making success of themselves today through well-conducted marketing campaigns, which is very, very unfortunate. Now, the keyword there is marketing. The keyword that you need to pick is marketing. Now, these are not medical tools. They are marketing tools, and they're exceptionally well-designed marketing tools. The technology borrows real scientific terminology, that is electromagnetic frequencies, talk about quantum physics, talk about cellular resonance, and applies it in ways that have no scientific validation. And it is the equivalent of using the word nuclear to make a product sound powerful when the product has nothing to do with nuclear science. I hope you get it. And words can be borrowed, of course, and evidence cannot be faked. You can pick words anywhere, but evidence cannot be faked. So, what do you actually do? What do you actually do with this information? So, if you see one of these tents or machines, here's my practical advice as a pharmacist to you. Number one, do not panic from their results in case you've gotten any results from them. Now, if your machine tells you something is wrong, do not immediately buy their treatment. Take a breath, go to a certified healthcare facility, and do proper tests. If the machine was right, you will find out through legitimate diagnosis that your body actually has an issue in a particular place. So if it was wrong, and it usually is, you will have saved yourself both money and unnecessary fear. Number two, do not be reassured by a clean result Either do not be reassured by a clean result, either from the machine. So if the machine tells you everything is fine and you have been experiencing symptoms, please still go and see a doctor. Do not let a false negative delay you from seeking a real medical care. Number three, know the signs of a legitimate health screening. You need to know the signs of a legitimate health screening. By this I mean real health screenings. They involve blood draws, blood being removed from your body, or urine samples, and results that take time to process in a laboratory. Now, reference ranges with your specific values compared against standards. You normally have reference ranges, standards, and all that, and a qualified professional who can explain the results in detail and follow up with you. Now, 2 minutes and a palm sensor does not meet any of these standards. Number four is to report them. If you encounter these machines operating in a way that seems deceptive or harmful, report them to the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentist Councils or your local public health authority. Now, protecting your community is part of protecting your own health. Let me leave you with this. Medicine is not magic. I'll repeat that again. That medicine is not magic. It is method. It is decades of research, validated tools, trained professionals, and carefully interpreted evidence. It is not glamorous. It is not quick. It is not a tent on the side of the road. That is not medicine. It is not magic. Real healthcare is sometimes slow, is sometimes expensive, sometimes inconvenient, but it is the only thing that actually works. That is real healthcare. Now, the next time you see one of these machines, whether in a market, at a health expo, or even indoors, in something that looks like a clinic, I want you to remember what you've learned today. Ask yourself, Ask yourself this critical question. How does a palm sensor diagnose my liver, kidneys, hormones, and blood sugar in 2 minutes when hospitals with full laboratories and specialists cannot? The answer is it cannot. That is the answer. It cannot diagnose in 2 minutes. So do not let the appearance of science replace actual science. Your health is too important for shortcuts. Have that as my parting shot, that your health is too important for shortcuts. Now, if this video opened your eyes, I would like to ask you to share it. Send it to someone who has seen these machines. Post it in your family WhatsApp groups. One share today could prevent someone from delaying real medical care tomorrow, and it could be your family member who can be served by this video. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you or someone you know ever used one of these machines? What did the report say? I want to hear from you. Honestly, there's no judgment. And tell me also in the comments what health topic you want me to cover next. I read every single one of these comments and suggestions and shape exactly what I create. They inform the topics that I address. See you in the next video. Remember to subscribe and also to hit the bell.